Explore Hadrian's Wall with us as we walk coast to coast in 8 days. Join us for our final day on the wall as we walk from Carlisle to Bowness-on-Solway. Breakfast at our B&B in Carlisle, and then we're on the trail again. We start at a history center where we got our Hadrian's Wall booklet stamp, one of the 2 that we'd get today. This is Carlisle Castle, which has been an important part of history for nearly 1,000 years. Nearby is a beautiful park with some fun musical sculptures. We got a little rain, but this stretch was completely covered with trees and we stayed completely dry as the rain passed over. We'd be fighting the rain most of the day. One of my favorite things are healthy snacks provided by nature. Honestly, this wouldn't be my favorite day on our Hadrian's Wall hike. There's no Roman ruins to see. It's simply walking through the suburbs and outer edge of Carlisle, and then out onto the Solway, which is a tidal firth. The end of today's walk will take us in sight of Scotland, across the waters on the Solway, but that's much later. First, we hit this detour. Our day was already scheduled to be the longest of our journey, and we were a little bit worried about the length of it. We were feeling tired from the previous 7 days, so adding a couple miles here made it a long, wet day. With this detour and another one coming later, our 14-mile day would end up being over 20 miles. Still, we were determined to have a great time, and it was our last day hiking in England, so we made the best of it and pushed on happily. Even though the stretch that we're detouring around is only a couple hundred meters, the detour itself ended up being multiple miles. We passed through this suburb of Carlisle and up around this stretch that took us back basically where we started our detour a few miles ago. Okay, here we get back on the trail, headed out towards the Solway. I said earlier in one of these videos that my goal in posting these is to share the experience of hiking Hadrian's Wall and to let you know what it'd be like if you were to choose to make this walk for yourself, or if you might never have the opportunity. I also said I might offer some advice from time to time, and my advice here would be to maybe skip this day. We were determined to walk coast to coast, so there was no way we were going to skip this last stretch. But if we could go back and reschedule this trip, I might walk a little longer on day 7 and push past Carlisle to shorten this last day a little bit. Or I might have just hopped in a car from Carlisle out to Bowness and spent a day on the Solway exploring the coast and what looked like some very cool historical stuff that we weren't able to see because of this day's hike and how long it ended up being. I've sped up this video significantly because at this point we've probably gone close to 6 or 7 miles before we decided to stop for lunch. We're moving again through the rain and the mud. It was really tricky passing through these farmers' fields, and I won't ruin your day by talking about some of the things that the animals leave behind. Another detour would take us a few more miles out of our way. Our shoes were feeling a little gross when we finally got back on the road and decided to stop at the Greyhound Inn, which is a lovely local tavern that gave us a chance to have a break and a little lunch and to consider our plans. We did give some thought to calling a taxi from the pub, but ultimately we chose to push on and make it all the way to the Solway. After a pint and some lunch, we're back on the road pushing through these beautiful farm towns. We passed one garden that had a sign about its award-winning roses, which were quite lovely. Now we're getting out onto the edge of the Solway. You can see it to my right. We're just starting to get out onto the salt flats. This hump here is actually Hadrian's Wall. It's the ruins of the foundation, and to the right is the vallum. This path took us further out onto the Solway. The view is very deceptive. The land is so flat that the towns in the distance look so much closer than they really are. On our final day, my reflections on the Hadrian's Wall experience are 100% positive. The days in and around Newcastle were beautiful, with lots of gorgeous country hiking. And then for 3 days we were up on the wall with the beautiful Roman ruins and history all around us. We stayed at some beautiful B&Bs and some wonderful hotels. I really loved the Oakwood Park Hotel in Brampton. It made me feel like I was in a mystery novel. And these last few days, as we're off the wall and away from the Roman history, they each have their own charms. This final day was a long hike, but it was completely worth it. As we walked through the rain here, we got out onto the Solway, moving closer and closer to the coast. Across the water, you can see Scotland. This is the only part of our walk where our view north actually let us see into Scotland itself, which is where my family's ancestry is from. Our final push takes us up into the town of Bowness-on-Solway, to our final stop where we can get our stamps. These gentlemen in front of us are from the Isle of Man, and we'd end up having dinner with them later. Everybody was pretty exhausted with the long walk and the detours, but we were super happy to be at this final stop, looking across the Solway into Scotland and having completed Hadrian's Wall from coast to coast. There's a real sense of pride as you put that last stamp in the book at the end of the journey. I took a moment to think back on 8 days of Hadrian's Wall and all that amazing history. But then it's on to the Wall's End B&B, where we relaxed and had a dinner at the local pub with several of our trail friends, celebrating our accomplishment. Thank you for watching these videos. I hope you enjoyed them, and if you ever get a chance to hike Hadrian's Wall, I hope you learned something from our experience. Thank you for watching, and subscribe to our channel for a variety of content.